Shall move forward, forward. We are so proud to be Ambazonians. Ambazonians shall move forward, forward. We are so proud to be Ambazonians. We come from Omondian Fako, Dongamanto, Kope Maningu Babwi. We come from Meza Mayuboyo.
Mama and Papa them for Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. Una welcome for Amber Farmers Voice. Amber Farmers Voice na program where it bring una practical and simple way them for grow plenty chop. We don't say and say this world is so hungry go dey plenty yo. So Amber Farmers Voice dey here for help for say make we put all we head for one place. See how we fit make we own organic fertilizer, how we fit make we own medicine, where we fit use am for key insect dey wey dey spoil chop. We want see how we fit work plenty chop for small ground, for small piece of land, so we work plenty chop day. How we fit fix we own solar dryer them for dry wood chop like Njamanjama them. So we talk say make all man tune in for SCBC TV, for Umojami, for Facebook, YouTube, or you fit download Amber Farmers Voice app for learn how we fit work plenty chop. If una get any question or problem with una farm, una fit send am for we, so that Amber Farmers Voice go answer am for una. We be ready for help una, for give una information for how for grow plenty chop, for keep chop for long time, make it no spoil. Thank una plenty.
Shall move forward, forward. We are so proud to be Ambazonians. Ambazonians shall move forward, forward. We are so proud.
Welcome. This video is a virtual construction guide for a solar-powered food dehydrator and was commissioned by both Amber Farmers Voice and Liberty University School of Engineering. This guide follows the step-by-step process of building the solar food dehydrator designed by Team S2-1 to meet the needs of the partners of Amber Farmers Voice. The dehydrator is designed in 3 sections: the table, the dehydration chamber, and the chimney. Each section is built separately and combined later to create an efficient and portable system. Constructing the table. The tabletop is the first part that needs to be built. This component will support the dehydration chamber and provide structural stability to the entire system. The materials needed for this piece are 1 wood sheet, cut to 2.44 meters by 1.1 meters. 2 wood boards, or 2x4s, cut to 2.44 meters. And several nails that are around 7.5 centimeters. Arrange these boards on the wood sheet so that they run parallel to each other along the edges of the sheet. This will place them just over 1.02 meters apart. It is crucial that these boards have at least 1.02 meters of space between them. The goal is to have that distance be as close to 1.02 meters as possible without going under. Once in place, nail the boards to the sheet. The tabletop is now complete. Constructing the legs. Next, the table legs should be built. The materials needed for this piece are 2 boards cut to 1 meter, 2 boards cut to 1.1 meters, nails, and hinges. Each set of legs will require 4 boards in total. Each tabletop requires 2 sets to function properly. Therefore, this process should be completed twice. Take the 2 1-meter boards and place them down parallel to each other. These will be the vertical parts of your legs, or uprights. Next, take one of the 1.1-meter boards and place it perpendicularly to the 2 1-meter boards as shown. This piece will be the upper crossbar of the legs and connect the assembly to the tabletop later on. Make sure this board is flush with one of the ends and sides of both uprights. Once in place, nail the boards together. Our recommendation is to use 2 nails per mate in a diagonal pattern. That way, the strength of the mate is maintained without sacrificing materials or the structural integrity of the wood. Next, take the second 1.1-meter board and place it 20 centimeters from the other end of the uprights. This provides stability in the leg structure. Be sure to line up the ends of this lower crossbar with the outer sides of the uprights. Make sure that both crossbars are connected to the same face of the uprights. Once in position, nail into place. The last components are the hinges. This model shows 2 hinges per leg. We recommend using at least 2 hinges and, through testing, have found that a 3rd hinge adds significant strength. These hinges should be mounted on the upper crossbar on the inner face, which is highlighted here. There should be 23 centimeters of space between the hinges and the thin side of the leg structure. A 3rd hinge can be added in the center if desired. Mount one side of the hinge to the inner face and let the other side rest on the top face of the upper crossbar. This means that the hinge's joints should extend slightly past the top face of the crossbar. This is ideal for stability. Repeat this process to build the 2nd set of legs. Once finished, the legs are complete and ready to be installed on the tabletop. Table assembly. Now we can assemble the table. The materials needed to complete this section are 2 leg assemblies, the tabletop, and a few more screws. The best way to assemble the pieces is to first set the tabletop upside down on the ground. This allows easy access to the underside where the legs will be mounted. The predefined front face of each leg will be oriented towards each other. The free side of the hinges will extend away from the leg assembly and towards the center of the table. Basically, the 2nd side of the hinges will be mounted here and here, on the inner side of each leg. The front face of the legs should be positioned across the width of the table, 21 centimeters from the end of the wood sheet. This allows for sound structural support while still giving the legs space to fold up under the table for transportation. Once positioned, the hinges can be mounted. The screws will most likely break through the opposite side of the wood sheet. This is expected. The screws pose no safety hazard once the dehydrator is fully constructed and assembled. The table is now complete. Turn the table over and fully extend the legs. If they travel slightly past 90 degrees, the table is stable, and you are ready to move on to the next step. If the legs are vertical, the table could be unstable, and the legs will need to be held in position while the dehydrator is in use. Constructing the dehydration chamber. The next section is the dehydration chamber. This is where food items will be placed for dehydration. The stages of this section are the base and uprights, upright supports, lid, wall, and end caps. First is the base and uprights. The materials needed for this section are 2 boards cut to 2.26 meters, 2 boards cut to 1.02 meters, 8 blocks, which are 20 centimeter sections of a 2x4, 2 long uprights, 2 short uprights, and nails. The uprights come in 2 different sizes. One is 30 centimeters and the other is 10 centimeters. They can be made from a single 2x4 if desired. The bottom of each one is a square cut, but the tops have a 12-degree pitch as measured from horizontal. The 10 centimeter uprights are measured by their taller face, while the 30 centimeter uprights are measured by their shorter face. Once these are completed, the base can be constructed. First, the uprights must be mounted before the chamber is built. To do this, take one of the 1.02 meter boards, one long upright, and one short upright. Place the flat end of each upright against the broad side of the 1.02 meter board. Orient the uprights so that their sloped faces fall on the same plane. This places the 2 uprights flush with each end of the 1.02 meter board. The best way to mount the uprights in these locations is to first nail 2 nails through the underside of the 1.02 meter board at each end, and then drive the uprights onto the exposed nails. Complete this with the remaining uprights and 1.02 meter board. The next step is to complete the rest of the rectangular frame. To achieve this, blocks will need to be used to connect frame pieces from the underside, as shown here. Connect one block, one 1.02 meter, and 2.26 meter board as shown. The end result will be a rectangular base that is 1.02 by 2.44 meters. We recommend using 2 additional blocks for frame support, which should be mounted at the midway point. The last 2 blocks will be used as supports for the chamber wall, which comes later. Space them out evenly as shown here. Now that the base is finished, the upright supports can be added. These supports are plywood boards that are less than 1 centimeter thick and exactly 1.04 meters long. Mount these supports to the uprights as shown. If the uprights were created and installed properly, this support should cleanly line up with the tops of opposing uprights. Be sure to offset the supports from the back of the long uprights by a ½ centimeter. This is done to ensure adequate space for hinges that will be installed later on. Next, the chamber lid can be created. The materials needed for this piece are 2 boards cut to 2.26 meters, 2 boards cut to 1.04 meters, 4 blocks, and nails. The lid is very similar to the chamber base. It is a rectangular frame with blocks that are used to hold the corners together. The difference here is that the final width of the lid has a dimension of 1.04 meters, while the length should still be 2.44 meters. When this is completed, the lid can be mounted on the base. The materials needed for this are the completed chamber base, the completed lid, 2 hinges, and screws. This is what the chamber will look like from the back with the lid installed. Here, the lid connects to the base via 2 hinges. Each hinge connects the lid to one of the 30 centimeter uprights. These are the only 2 connection points for the lid. Looking from the other side, we can see how the lid is meant to open and close. The next piece is the chamber wall. This is a longer version of the upright supports. Here, it is 2.44 meters long and is used to insulate the short side of the chamber. It is mounted to the short uprights and 2 of the blocks on the chamber base. Make sure the lid does not rest on this piece. If it does, the system will have air gaps that could affect its efficiency. The final wooden components of the chamber are the end caps. Although they appear to be identical, save for the holes in the front cap, they are slightly different dimensions. The dimensions for the front cap are shown here. These holes are designed for fans to fit without the need for nails or screws. These caps are made from the same wood sheeting that was used for the tabletop. The dimensions for the rear cap is shown here. Overall, this cap is 6 centimeters shorter than the front one. This design leaves a gap at the bottom for air to escape. When mounting these caps, be careful to mount the front one to the chamber base and uprights and the rear one to only the uprights. They are both meant to sit flush with the top side of the closed lid. The next step is installing the mesh. This is what the food will sit on while dehydrating. To do this, simply cut a section of wire mesh to dimensions slightly smaller than the frame of the chamber base. Nail the mesh into position on the base as shown here. It may be necessary to install bug netting on top of the mesh to prevent food from falling through the openings. The final piece of the chamber is the plastic. The best way to attach it is to use as few pieces as possible. First, the plastic should be placed over the top of the lid, rather than on the underside, to repel rain as effectively as possible. This piece should extend over both sides of the chamber. It should first be nailed into the lid's frame on all sides, then down each upright and along the back side of the chamber base. The section of plastic that extends past the lid on the front side will serve as a skirt that covers the chamber wall. With the plastic installed, it should be possible to open and close the lid without tearing anything. If this is achieved, the dehydration chamber is complete. Constructing the chimney. The third and final section of the dehydrator is the chimney. There are only 2 types of pieces that need to be made for the chimney. The first is the chimney window. The materials needed for this part are 2 boards cut to 1.5 meters, 2 boards cut to 0.86 meters, and nails. Shown here is a completed chimney window frame. The 1.5 meter boards run the entire height of the component, while the 0.86 meter boards join their vertical counterparts at their ends. We recommend using at least 2 nails per corner. This piece will need to be made 4 times and will make up the rear 2 faces of the chimney. The final dimensions of this part are 0.94 meters wide by 1.5 meters tall. The second piece of the chimney is the front face, which contacts the table and chamber. The materials needed for this piece are 4 boards cut to 1.5 meters each, 1 wood sheet cut to 2.45 meters tall by 1.1 meters wide, and nails. The wood sheet needs to be cut 1.1 meters from one end as shown. This will create a gap for the air to leave the dehydration chamber and enter the chimney. The same process to build the tabletop is used here. The chamber face of the chimney and the tabletop are very similar parts. The difference is that a 10 centimeter gap needs to be put in the chimney's face. The boards should be put end to end on either side of the sheet to provide support. The lower boards will connect the 2 sections of the sheet together and the remaining boards will continue up to the full height of the chimney. These upper 2 boards are only connected to the larger section of the sheet. With this section completed, you can begin assembling the chimney. The first step to assembling the chimney is pairing the chimney windows together. These stacked windows are connected via 4 hinges, 2 in the front and 2 in the back. Using hinges here instead of nails allows the chimney to collapse for better portability. Complete this step with the other 2 chimney windows. Now you can connect the 2 pairs of windows. Do this by using 4 hinges as shown here. Make sure to mount the hinges on the outside of the windows to reduce gaps in the chimney as much as possible. Do the same thing to connect the opposite sides of the chimney window assembly to the chamber face. The final step is to add plastic sheeting to the windows. 2 long sections are all that are needed for this. Nail the 2 sheets to the inside of the chimney so that each sheet covers 1 stack of windows. Alternatively, 1 sheet can be used per window. This will help with disassembly and portability operations. The chimney is now complete. Now that each section of the dehydrator is built, you can now assemble the whole system. Set up every component as shown here. One thing that could be added are hinges to the underside of the tabletop that connect it to the chimney. This significantly improves the stability of the system and helps keep the dehydration chamber against the chimney. Be sure to push the chamber against the chimney so the connection is as airtight as possible. If you have access to solar-powered fans, install them in the ports in the front end cap. When the system needs to be transported, simply remove the pins of any of the hinges with a hammer and nail. This breaks the dehydrator down into several, more manageable parts. Congratulations, your solar-powered food dehydrator is now complete.
Shall move forward, forward. We are so proud to be Ambazonians. Ambazonians shall move forward, forward. We are so proud to be Ambazonians. We come from Momondi and Fako, Donga Mantul, Kope Maningu Babwi. We come from Meza Mayugoyo.
Mama and Papa them for Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. Una welcome for Amber Farmers Voice. Amber Farmers Voice na program where it bring una practical and simple way them for grow plenty chop. We don't say and say this world is so hungry go dey plenty yo. So Amber Farmers Voice dey here for help for say make we put all we head for one place, see how we fit make we own organic fertilizer, how we fit make we own medicine, where we fit use am for kill insect dey wey dey spoil chop. We want see how we fit work plenty chop for small ground, for small piece of land so we work plenty chop dey. How we fit fix we own solar dryer them for dry we chop like Njamanjama them. So we dey talk say make all man tune in for SCBC TV, for Umojami, for Facebook, YouTube, or you fit download Amber Farmers Voice app for learn how we fit work plenty chop. If una get any question or problem with una farm, una fit send am for we so that Amber Farmers Voice go answer am for una. We be ready for help una, for give una information for how for grow plenty chop, for keep chop for long time, make it no spoil. Thank una plenty.
Shall move forward, forward. We are so proud to be Ambazonians. Ambazonians shall move forward, forward. We are so proud.